Okay, we're on number 8. Find the values of the following expressions. Express each answer to the nearest tenth. Now we're going to be doing multiplication, some exponents here. You should just be able to apply order of operations. You should be able to apply positives and negatives, and you should be able to come up with an answer. Once you attain the answer, then you're going to be able to determine the answer to the nearest tenth. So if you look at the first one, actually let's take a look at the last one. Because the first one you're just multiplying and then subtracting. Now we're going to subtract. Actually, if you look at number 2, or excuse me, B, we have 2 times parentheses 5.4 minus 6.5. My recommendation, and this is something that we do apply distributive rule when we have variables and we're not able to determine the answer within the parentheses. In this case, you can. You don't have to apply the distributive rule. You don't have to multiply. You can, but in this case, I would just do the math here, and I would have 2 times, well, what's 5.4 minus 6.5? Well, the answer is going to be negative 1.1. Okay, now I can multiply, and that would be negative 2.2. Okay, and that would be to the nearest tenth. Now, when you start doing your math on, like in D, you're going to again find yourself. Let's do D here. We have 5.4 minus 6.5. And we're squaring that. And 5.4 minus 6.5, that would be negative 1.1. And that's being squared. Well, what would that really be? Well, that would be negative 1.1 times negative 1.1, right? So we know that the answer is going to be positive. Now, if we're doing 1.1 times 1.1, and we just did it here, what would that look like? Be very careful what you're assuming here, because you might say, well, isn't that 1? 1.1? Well, no, it's not 1 times 1.1 or negative 1 times negative 1.1. It's 1.1 times 1.1. So what would that look like? Well, it would look like this, right? If we did our math, and that would give us 1, 2, and 1, and then we'd have 2 decimal points. So the answer here is 1.21. We know it's, excuse me, make that a 2. Let's rewrite that so it's clearer. 1.21. Now we have a negative times a negative, which means our answer is going to be positive, and we're told to round to the nearest tenth. So being that this is a 1, the thousandth, I know that the answer then is 1.2. So that will be our answer. Okay, so just be careful when you're doing math. Don't jump to conclusions. Do your math. Whether you use a calculator or whether you do it as I did, something as simple as this, you don't really need a calculator. But you can see how when you multiply these numbers, you get a number that slightly different than you might have thought, because you might have been thinking, well, it's 1.1. 1, you see so many ones, you can get very confused there. Okay, so let's move on to our last set of problems. Let's put a new board up, and let's read on here. It says, find the values of the following expressions given that x is equal to 7.6 and y is equal to negative 2.31. Express each answer to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so now we're going from the tenth to the hundredth, means that if I were to just simply write, let's say a number 1.23456, okay? I know I'm just using consecutive numbers there, but this is the value is 1.2345. So what do we have here? Well, this is the tenth, and this is the hundredth, okay? The hundredth is here. But for us to know what the hundredth is to the nearest hundredth, we need to know what the thousandth is, okay? And determine whether this is going to affect the hundredth. So now when you start plugging in your x and y values into the equations that they give you, or the expressions rather, x plus y, y minus x, x times y, y squared, and x divided by y, when you do your math, remember you need to see something that looks like this, okay? And if you say, well, what if I had 1.23? It's already to the hundredth. If that's your exact answer, meaning you don't have, well, you know there are zeros here, and of course the zero does not affect, so that would be your answer. But remember, you need to go out to the third decimal point to the right, or the third digit, to determine what the second one will be. Okay, that pretty much wraps up our set 2 problems for lesson number 4.